Okay, we're back in the regular shop now, starting to do body work on the VW. And you can tell that by the plastic on there and on there, trying to keep the dust down as much as possible. This is where I am so far. This is the driver rear fender. This is the one that had a humongous dent right here that I've hammered out. See, I've got a little bit of high places and low places. You run your hand across it, it's not that bad at all. I'm going to come in, skim this, correct the imperfections after I do some sanding to break the glaze on this, do the body work of that fender, get it into paint, or not paint, but primer. Then I'm going to systematically go through each of the fenders, do the same work, get those into primer, and then I'll hit the body. Let's get started. Well, all right, as you can see, due to my very limited skills in using body filler, I've used the amount liberally over the area that needed skimming. Of course, there's a lot on this. This requires more work on the back end because, frankly, I'm just not good at this. But the good news is I can sand all of this back and make it nice and smooth. It just takes a little bit more sanding to remove the excess that I created. A skilled body man's not going to use nearly as much material. It's going to come out a lot nicer and neater, and it'll look better than everything else, but the end result is what counts to me. I've got to let this dry now. I'll come back with my DA and my sandpaper, and I will sand this down and make that nice and smooth. Once I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to flip it over, clean up the back side of this fender, put it aside, and start on the other three. Well, here we are, a couple hours later. I actually didn't need to let it dry this long, but I always like to give it more cure time just to be safe. And I took advantage of that to run to do some errands and stuff like that. This is all dry, solidified. Now I'm going to start the sanding process. It's about to get noisy in here because it's about 90 degrees and it's very humid, so I'm going to turn my fan on, so you're about to hear my fan running. I apologize for that, but let's get busy. Again, excuse the fan noise. But you can see here, we've got the glaze of the paint knocked down in all the other areas. We've got the chips taken care of and sanded down, everything smooth. The damage, it's not 100%, but it's 99, and for the purposes of this paint job, that's going to do just fine. This is smooth now. This paint, or this fender redder, is ready for high build primer and to start the block sanding procedure on it. I've got to do the other 3 fenders. They're going to be easier though, because I don't have the damage to repair on those. So I'm going to start knocking down the glaze on this, getting it ready to go into primer as well. Either way, always use protection. couple hours later, and these are all ready for their first coat of high build primer, which is the first step, of course, in genuine body work. I've got all of the filler work that I need to get done. I am not stripping this all the way back to the middle. The underneath is really good with the exception of the dents and dings and everything and chips that were in the paint, which I have smoothed those out. I'm not going to worry about painting inside the bucket. We're painting the car the same color as that, and that will clean up nice. I'm just going to tape that up, and that's not seen anyway because it's behind the headlight bucket. That's really good paint in there. I'm going to leave it alone. But that one is good. This one here, we've got it down. Now what I wanted to do here is primarily concentrate on these areas here, knocking down the edges, because if you remember, all they did was tape this off and shoot the new paint over the top of the green, and that left rough edges around those because they didn't actually take that off. So those are all smoothed off. The areas around the edges are smoothed off. This area right here, those are not high and low places. Those are areas where there were significant chips in the paint. High build primer and block sanding, and if I need it, the glazing putty will take care of that. Same goes with this. This is the fender that was really bad. This is the one that was damaged, and you can see I uncovered a little bit of filler, but that filler is good. I'm going to leave it alone. My filler job, like I said, I coat on too much, but it is smoothed out. It feels really good. I think I can take care of the rest of it with glazing putty if necessary, or just the high build primer, a couple of coats of that. Next step on these, prime them. Then we're going to block sand with 220. I'm going to prime again, then we're going to go to 320. This is 180 right now is the stage that those are at. I've got to 180 the entire body. I've still got to take the glass out of the doors and do a few more things in that before I'm ready, but I'm going to go ahead and take the doorknobs off, do the body, and I've also got to clean up all the rust and everything on the inside. I've got a couple of scaly areas on some of the fenders. Specifically, if you saw it on the video, on the inside where they mounted the body, I've got that knocked down. I'm going to rust encapsulate those before spraying the primer, and I'm actually out of rust encapsulating primer, so I've got to get some more. That's no big deal. That's something I can buy locally. But essentially, what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the fenders to the body, and I'm going to clean the scale, rust encapsulate everything. There's the floor that I replaced. Seam seal that. Sand down the dash, take the radio and all the gauges out and everything so I can get ready to paint the inside of this. I'm going to paint the inside of that before I paint the outside, but I've got to get it all in primer before I actually get that done. So next is sanding and doing that process I did on the fenders, on the body, inside and out. Doing this as I can. It's Father's Day weekend, so I decided to stay home this weekend, not go down where the Mustang is. We'll do that next weekend. Plus I've got to go to Little Rock, which is about 3 hours away. There is a English Color down there, and I usually go down on Friday, come back on Saturday evening, so I'm going to stop at English Color, get some more primer, because I think I'm about out of the primer. Got to get some more 355 star Advantage primer, and we're going to start doing high build and start the block sanding and fine tuning process on this, which you've seen me do on this one and on that one. Same process. Whether it's metal or fiberglass, we go through the same process. I've got the body work part of it done. There really wasn't that much done. This car, the paint job didn't look good because it was for the worse for wear, but there's no actual damage in the metal, with the exception of that right there. We've got that worked out, so we're ready to go. I'm going to call it into this video right now because it's hot in here and I had to turn my fan off in order to get this shot, so we're going to call it a day. I've got some family obligations to take care of tomorrow, which is Sunday, so I will call it a weekend on this, get back started on it as soon as I can. Be sure and stick around, hit like and subscribe. More content on this bug coming. Hopefully we can get some interest on this. If not, we'll concentrate more on the Mustang, but they both got to get done, so be sure to stick around.